everybody. Welcome to Talking Heartland. This is the show where we talk about the show Heartland, and we are going way back. We have season 4, episodes 13, 14, 15. We had kind of some rough episodes last week that we were recapping, so hopefully these episodes will be better. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle is here.
Hey everyone.
Yes, how are you doing?
Oh, good.
Hanging in there. These ones continue the trend of very high scores on IMDb, almost 8.9 or 9 for all of them. So popular fan favorites. I mean, I guess the fan favorites get like 10s, but lots of drama going on at Heartland Ranch. All right, well, let's dive in. So the first episode we're talking about is called The Road Home. And this summary is Amy finds that she's overcommitted when she promises to desensitize 3 horses for the local police. Deciding that she needs help, she calls in Chase. Meanwhile, Amy's returning the last of Ty's things throws him. And when Jack discovers that Ty is skipping classes and not showing up to help Scott, Jack proposes a road trip. So overall, what did you think about this episode?
I like this one. I think these episodes are actually really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Ty was a little bit like miserable in this episode, but I feel like Amy got like 3 episodes where she was miserable, and I think Ty's allowed one of still sort of, I guess, grieving his relationship a little bit, so he's allowed to be down a little bit, I suppose. And it was only the 1 episode, so it was it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit frustrated with Caleb and Ashley because I just feel like on this show they get people married and then like immediately we're having a relationship drama. And there's really no honeymoon period when it comes to Heartland.
No,
None.
absolutely not.
So that was my only frustration. But yes, Amy is being asked to desensitize these horses. And I guess I kind of missed where she called Chase. I don't know if I was just not looking or was writing my notes or something, because I was like, why is Chase even here?
Yeah, I
She
think she
called
just
him.
she gets overwhelmed and calls him.
Yeah.
And I guess his whole thing is like, in his clinics and stuff, is like shock tactics and like really, I mean, he has all the tools because that's kind of what he does in his shows. So I suppose, yeah, I get really frustrated with him in these episodes.
I mean, how do you think the show is hoping that we are feeling about Chase? Do you think that they think that we like him or not like him?
I mean, I liked Chase in the beginning when he first came in because he was sort of like a little bit of an agent of chaos. I mean, the relationships between Amy and Ty was kind of secure, and I didn't feel like he even like threatened them really. And he just sort of came in and was a bit of a buffoon and a bit of a, like he wasn't really a bad guy. He was just kind of, was a stirrer. Whereas these bunch of episodes, I really didn't like him. I just feel like he's kind of taken a turn to like, I'd rather he wasn't there at this point.
Yeah. I mean, because on one hand, he's dated 2 of our female characters, and so we kind of want to think highly of him, but then he acts like a jerk, and so then we don't want to like him, and he's rude. So is he supposed to be the bad boy? Like, what is his character? And then I feel like they're trying to kind of build up the chemistry between Amy and Chase at times, but then other times, I don't know, I feel like I'm not quite sure what they wanted to do with the character.
It feels like, I mean, I'm not sure how long he's going to be in the show going forward, but feels like they've kind of run their course with him, and they've kind of pushed him to a point where it would be hard for, especially me as the audience, to get behind any kind of romance between him or Surya or him and Amy at all.
Right.
I would not support it whatsoever because I think he really shows his colours in these episodes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he shows to be pretty selfish. And so I agree with you. So we have going on that Amy gives Ty his kind of box of stuff back. And she's hoping that this will be helpful to him in some way. It'll help
Yeah,
him
I
move
think it's
on.
more it's supposed to be more helpful to her in
Mm-hmm.
moving on, that she's not got all these things around her that reminds her of him. But yeah,
She,
I think it's like, if it was me, I would just like pack all the stuff up and put it in a
that's what I was
closet. I wouldn't
thinking.
like give it back. I feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of a little mean to just sort
Mm-hmm.
of say all these mementos mean kind of nothing now.
That's what I would do too. I would just stick it in maybe one of the cabins or something of that nature and not give it back to him.
Especially when
So,
things are like gifts and things like that.
mm-hmm.
They're not technically his.
Yeah, it's kind of rude.
Yeah.
And then Lisa and Lou putting together the nursery, and Lisa says, you know, you're going to want to hire Soraya for full time, since you're going to be very busy with the baby. And Lou is very resistant to that, and it is pretty rude how everyone's like referring to her as in this delicate state and all this. And it's more the next episode, but everybody's treating her with kid gloves.
Yeah. I think the thing with Lisa was like, you can't run all of these businesses and be a full-time mum.
Mm-hmm.
Something's kind of got to give. So maybe
Right.
do the job part-time or take on extra help. And Lisa is sort of like a bit pushy, but I feel like Lou goes way too far. Like, she's
Yeah.
so rude back that I was just kind of like, oh God.
Yeah, because she basically says, well, how would you know? You've never had a child, kind of a thing, which is very hurtful.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think we all know, if you're an older single woman, you know how hurtful that is to say,
Yeah.
as if our opinion on things doesn't matter at all.
And you don't know, like, Lou doesn't know her situation. She doesn't know if she's tried to have kids or she couldn't have
Right.
kids, or she doesn't know, she hasn't really asked those questions to kind of find
Right.
out. So I think it is pretty rude to just assume that she chose not to have kids and therefore she doesn't get a say. I say Lisa is kind of pushy, but that's just kind of her personality.
Mm-hmm. So you have Jack confronting Ty, and Ty says, "Day one, I moved out of the loft. My life became none of your damn business." And that's not going to set well with Jack. And so he says, "We're going on a road trip." And I did think it was kind of funny when Jack is sitting there with Ty and he's like, "Let's check out Chase's taste in music." Sure, he has Dolly. I love Dolly. I could listen to Dolly all day.
So could we all.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? And then he says, "I spent the last 3 years investing in your life not to have you mess it up. Come back to the loft, go back to school, work for Scott." That's some hard talk from Jack, but I liked it. It was good.
Yeah, it was really good. I feel
Mhm.
like that sort of, we haven't seen the kind of bond between
Yeah.
Jack and Ty for a little bit. And it was nice to kind of get that kind of like father son kind of bond that they had.
Yeah. And so there's 3 horses that she's supposed to desensitize, and 2 of them, no problem, very easy. Third one is having problems. And I mean, do people know Amy as just like the all around horse person, or particularly for this kind of training? Because people come to her for teaching jumping, they come to her, she's in the races at times with Tim, and racing. She's done all these, she's roped at times, she's done roping, she's done all the different kinds. I mean, I didn't even know these all different types of things existed until I started watching
Yeah,
Heartland.
we're learning a lot. But yeah, even in this episode, it's like, oh yeah, like these horses, like they're confronted with so much. Of course, they would
Mm-hmm.
need to be kind of put through the paces before they would go into like a
Mm-hmm.
protest situation or whatever. But yeah, I think initially, and the thing that I prefer to watch Amy do is more kind of the horse psychology, working with
Mm-hmm.
the rider and the trainer, the rider
Right.
and the horse. That's kind of the stuff I enjoy. But I feel like for the show to kind of produce this many episodes for this length of time. They kind of need to cover,
a lot of different, because that's the thing that's incredible, is not just that they're able to have the horses do the different things that they have them do, but when they have the horses be scared and afraid, I'm like, how did they do that without actually scaring the horses? Because obviously they can't do that. They can't traumatize the horses
yeah,
in real life. And but they make it so convincing when the horse is upset. I don't know how they do
yeah,
it. It's amazing.
yeah. I don't know how to do it, and it's about like when you watch kind of dogs and those like mainly dogs really on film
Mm-hmm.
are kind of we're more in tune with their emotions. We kind of buy into them quote unquote acting because we kind of see their personalities a lot more. But yeah, watching this show, you kind of see that side of horses. I never would have thought of seeing the emotions of horses and seeing them in all these different situations and how
Mm-hmm.
that would affect them in this kind of way. So I suppose the show is really, really good at doing that, and it's
Yeah, really good.
yeah, one of a kind in that sense.
So Chase invites Amy to come along on a movie date with him and Soraya. And he says that let's go see one of those vampire movies you girls like so much. That was kind of funny. and, and this seems just like a terrible idea. I don't know
Yeah,
what Amy's thinking. I mean, would you want to be a third wheel of a couple friend of yours like this?
yeah. You would think after she's just had a breakup, that would be the last thing she would want to
Yeah.
do.
Hmm.
But I suppose if she's with her best friend, but the second Soraya wasn't going, you'd be like, yeah, no thanks.
Hmm. Yeah.
Especially considering they've been in sort of a compromising position before. So
Right. I think it would be a big no. But turns out Soraya doesn't show up, so it's just Jason and Amy. Little ends up being a little date, and that's awkward. And they almost kiss again, and then she fires him. Then Ty finds puppies on the side of the road.
oh,
You
cutest
got to
little
be a
puppies.
pretty mean person to just leave a bag of puppies on the road.
Oh, awful.
Yeah, like I'm not even the biggest animal person in the world, and you don't leave puppies on the side of the road.
Yeah,
What's
no,
wrong with you?
absolutely not.
I mean, especially because I feel like there's just so many places you can take little puppies.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even like,
Crazy.
yeah, I'm like bad for like following all of these like rescue places on like
Uh,
Facebook and like
yeah.
just like every day you get these like tragic stories of like these puppies or dogs being rescued and yeah, it's crazy when you think of all the charities and
Hmm.
help and things that are out there. They would just get
Yeah.
abandoned.
My brother's puppy, oh, poor little thing. His name's Thunder. It's this little tiny little puppy, and it had to have it's got neutered and everything yesterday, and so he's had post surgery. The little puppy was the saddest thing. It was so sweet. And so yeah, so then Ty, he's far away because they did this road trip,
Hmm.
and he finds this veterinarian place, and he breaks in to
Like
help the
response
puppies.
always to like break into some place. That's like
Yeah.
his response to any difficult situation. It's like, oh, just break in.
I mean, I guess they needed help that quickly
Yeah,
so that he couldn't go back to Scott's, I guess.
I suppose. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, like if even yesterday I was trying to order my dog medication, and I kept getting the answer machine, and even the answer machine was like, if it's an emergency, call this number,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
just in case they can't get to the phone.
Yeah, I probably would have just gone home with them in the bag like he did, and I don't know, and just gotten that's just my initial thought is always, I mean, I certainly would have done it rather than break in to the to the place. But you're right. He could have, I'm sure there's a number or something like that, or he could have looked it up on his phone, but he breaks in, and then the veterinarian finds him, is gonna call the cops. She says no, and please don't. And then he stays with the puppies all night every 2 hours feeding them and everything, and he loses one of them, which was very sad.
Oh God, yeah. I did not expect that. I was not prepared for that when I was watching the episode. I was watching late last night and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to sleep after these episodes.
Yeah.
Puppy death.
Oh, poor puppy. I wonder how they do that. How they make the puppy not move around and stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it.
Because obviously they're not really
It's
killing
like,
puppies.
yeah. It's just a really, really tired puppy.
Because you don't want it to breathe and stuff for the scene. I don't know how the way they do with animals. I would love to interview the animal handler because it's amazing. But the veterinarian offers Ty a job, and so then he calls Amy. They have a little talk, and he says he's got to move on. So we think, oh, maybe he's gonna take the job. And then we find out that Soraya didn't know about the movie at all. Wasn't she canceled? She didn't even know what was happening. So it was very shady for Chase.
Yeah.
And
Chase is like such a liar. That's what I don't like about him.
He is.
Just such a liar, and he's able to. And Soraya's really smart, and I feel like these episodes kind of done her a little bit of disservice. I feel like she's way too smart to like put up with this garbage.
Yeah, I wish we could get to know a little bit more about Soraya. Like maybe have one episode kind of more from her perspective a little bit. Like we've gotten.
It feels like she's kind of a plot device a lot of times.
Yeah, like I wish we got to know as much about Soraya as we did about Ashley, for example.
Yeah, we haven't seen her mom in forever.
Right. So Ty comes back. And Jack says, I can't remember the last time I felt so relieved, which was very sweet.
I actually thought he was going to take the job for a second. I was like,
I know, I did too. I was like, is there going to be something between Ty and this vet lady?
God, I didn't go there, but can you imagine?
And then Peter and Lou ask Lisa to be the baby's godmother, which was very sweet. So this one was pretty good. I liked this episode. 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I would give it a 7.5.
Yeah. I think that's probably pretty fair. We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies Podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right. Well, so let's talk about family business. This is episode 14, and the summary is when famous Olympic trainer Stuart Forrest hires Amy to coach his Olympic hopeful daughter Rihanna. Amy feels that he's pushing her and her horse too hard. When Amy gets Chase's help, Ty is concerned. Meanwhile, Jack is concerned that Mallory is neglecting her horse, Copper. Lou discovers that while Peter is home with her, his business in Dubai is in crisis. So overall, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I really like this episode. I feel like the payoff in the next episode isn't as good, but I think this is a really strong episode on its own.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I like this one pretty good. You have a bit of Amy kind of being grumpy, which isn't my favorite for her, but other than that, I thought it was pretty good. She's on the cover of the magazine as the miracle worker, and supposedly Stuart is kind of key of her getting on this magazine and getting a lot of business. And
the episode, I think it was the beginning of season 3, first episode of season 3, where it was like the crash, and Amy gets out of the school bus and goes and helps the horses, and it was his horses. I think he's the one that kind of calls her the miracle girl.
Oh, right. Well, Lou starts to worry about Peter, and she's wanted to get this running stroller that's very expensive, and he's kind of upset about it. And he's just very stressed out. He's always talking to this girl named Jennifer on his work line, and he's not communicating with her, which is really ridiculous. And I was glad when she says later on, she says, I have an MBA. Like, Lou worked in business for all those time when she was in New York.
Yeah. What, was she a lawyer?
I thought she was just in business.
Like in finance and things like that?
Yeah, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But
yeah,
she's not just some dope. I mean, she has experience in a lot of these things. She could be helpful to him.
Even when they were in Dubai, like, she could have done something there, like in like the business, because when she first came to Heartland, that was the stuff that she initially wanted to get back to. So, and she has a lot of talent in it, and yeah, this whole storyline drove me crazy.
Yeah. So Stuart hires Amy to help Rihanna, his daughter, as a jumper, but the horse is too much horse for her, is what she says. Way too much horse for that girl.
Yeah,
she
you
doesn't
could
want
tell as well. I think that's probably like the biggest horse they've ever had on Heartland. It's huge.
And they have the wrong kind of bridle, evidently. They keep talking about that.
Yeah, the bit thing that goes in its mouth, apparently it was like too aggressive.
Which again, we're learning.
Learning, yeah.
We're learning about horses because I had no idea.
Apparently that's a big part of like controlling the horse's head and things like that.
Yeah, the bit. I had no idea. And I really liked this whole plot line with Jack and Mallory. And it was so cute when he says that a gentleman's outside for waiting for you. And she goes out and it's Copper. That was really cute.
Yeah. I think this was like a good way to kind of show how kind of, like how bad Mallory feels about not feeling like she's a part of Heartland anymore. Like she feels kind of pushed out. And for her to not visit Copper, who she's obsessed with, I feel like that's a good way of showing it. If she's not going to see Copper, then she's obviously really, really suffering and really heartbroken. Because she even says it in this episode, like she's been wanting to learn how to jump for ages, and Amy's teaching someone else how to do it. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so Lou can tell there's something that Peter's not telling her. She gets very stressed. And then we also have Chase trying to apologize to Soraya about it. And then you have Peter. There's a whole scene with Peter and Jack cutting wood. And he says, when a bronc rider climbs on, he's got to open the gate and ride or get off that animal. If he doesn't, he might just get kicked to death right there in the chute, and that is no way to go. That's what he says.
Yeah, I tried to write this quote down and you just kept going. I was like, yeah, I'm not writing this down.
I know. Yeah, I had to pause it several times. And Lou says, why don't you tell me the truth?
Yeah, it's like credit cards being declined left and right.
So I was glad when she said, though, that I have an MBA. I'm not stupid. But it turns out Peter is about to go bankrupt. It's bad. It's a bad situation.
It's kind of crazy. It always like amazes me when these like millionaires like go from millionaires to nothing.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's kind of the situation.
It's true. But I think that when you start
Sorry.
No. I think that when you start in those worlds, just like everything becomes so expensive and everything becomes like your decisions may cost just so much more. I don't know. It's like you get in this weird little sphere.
Yeah. And yeah, whenever they talk about like business and money, I do kind of zone out. So I wasn't entirely clear what was happening, other than the fact that he is like going bankrupt and whatever decisions they made in Dubai just aren't paying off.
Yeah. So we have the Chase Powers power bit, the Chase Powers collection. This is pretty. And Soraya and Amy are fighting. They're not getting along. And then Rihanna tries to impress her dad, tries the big jumps, and falls. And Stuart says, "I made you the miracle girl. I can unmake you."
Jeez.
Yeah.
He's a little intense.
Yeah, he's a lot. And then Peter apologizes to Lou. And Jack tells Mallory, "I don't know what to tell you about them, Mallory. Maybe you've changed."
Yeah, she keeps saying Heartland's changed, but yeah, he says maybe it's true it's changed.
Yeah. And Amy and Soraya make up, and Stuart is suing Heartland for negligence. And then we have Peter leaving at the end of the episode to make everything right in Dubai.
At the end of every episode, it feels like.
So what would you give this one 1 to 10?
I'll go with an 8. So I like this one a little bit more.
Okay, I can agree with that. All right, last episode we have is The River. This is a 9.0 on IMDb. So pretty high. And it's everyone at Heartland is concerned by the bad publicity surrounding Olympic trainer Stuart Forrest's lawsuit against Amy. Even Chase pulls his horses from Amy's training. Ty lends Amy his support, and Lou does a little investigating. Meanwhile, Caleb returns from his honeymoon alone. His wife Ashley has remained behind in Italy for an additional week with her mother. So overall, what did you think about this one?
Yeah, it was an okay one. I wasn't as crazy about it as the last one, but yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I wasn't really that into the whole Caleb and Ashley drama and everything with Caleb, because again, I feel like they can't just have the couples be happy for 5 seconds on this show.
No, absolutely not. I mean, almost
It's
got a
unheard
year.
of.
That's like a record. That's the record so far. I suppose like Jack and Lisa, they're kind of the obviously they're like the coach and Tammy of the show. They're like the stable. They're like the stable couple. Never changing.
That's true.
The rest is sort of really fragile.
Yeah,
but and especially with Ash doesn't come back, so she's not there to even have like a storyline. So
right.
she's sort of being like villainized by for staying without even like being on screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like something that she would do, especially in her honeymoon, that she would stay there longer with Val. Why is Val even there? Why is she on her honeymoon with her mother?
That was weird. Because apparently, like, she gave this holiday to Caleb and Ashley. Like, she wasn't involved at the end of the wedding. Like, it was a thing for them. So yeah, I didn't even pick up on that. Do you know that? It's so weird. Yeah, I'm going on my honeymoon. My wife's mom's coming with us.
What? So bizarre. So then Rihanna is upset with her dad for suing Amy. She doesn't want to ride anymore. She's very upset, but Amy is working on the horses for Chase Powers, but then he pulls them because he can't have any of Amy's drama.
She's better off without them.
Mm-hmm. And Lou has this dinner for lunch with Stuart, try to make everything right. And he's very dismissive and, oh, you and your fragile state. Like, none of these people have ever seen a pregnant woman. This is like children of men over here. Like, no,
exactly. Seriously.
Your delicate state. And they're like, you're gonna have to give me $150K for the horse, evidently.
Yeah, because he says that the horse is like injured beyond repair. It can't do its job anymore.
Yeah.
Which is obviously lying.
Basically, I feel like they're treating Lou in this episode the same as people who are like, oh, are you on your cycle? Oh, that explains everything. It's so annoying. Like, it's
a very like stereotypical approach to pregnancy.
Yeah, like you still can function as a human and be pregnant.
I have to remind myself sometimes that this show is like 10 years old.
That's
So I feel
true.
like you just would not get away with some stuff nowadays.
Right.
Like things are so like, especially with the way Twitter is now, it's like pretty much everything gets picked apart.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So then Chase Power has horsepower. And everybody is evidently aware of this scandal with Amy because people are canceling at the Dude Ranch, which seems highly unlikely that you'd be like, I'm going to go on my vacation, but oh, I hear about this person who works at the ranch.
Yeah.
I'm going to cancel my vacation. I find that unlikely. Like, I get if you wouldn't have maybe people working with your horse if you were a little bit, insecure, but I doubt you'd cancel the Dude Ranch.
Feels like, Amy's thing and Lou's thing are very separate in terms of like business models. So
yeah,
I think there would be much crossover. I can buy that a lot of the horse people know what's going on, but
right.
regular people that are just going to stay for the weekends, unlikely.
Yeah, that's what I think. And Lou finds out that Peter has taken a bad offer for his condo, which again, you would definitely want to discuss that with your spouse.
Mm.
That's a bad move. You should discuss your finances with your spouse. I mean, I'm not married, but that seems like a smart idea to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And Lou says it feels like it's the worst possible time to have a baby. Oh, poor thing. And what do you think of the bear?
Really scary. Really scary. That was a huge bear.
Yeah, it really was. And it likes the strawberry jam, evidently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the loose strawberry jam. And Caleb's feeling like a bear missing his lady. And so then we have Chase saying it's a bad time to be in business together. And Lou decides that she's going to economize. And so she makes chili with quinoa, meatless Mondays. That's quite the idea for Heartland Ranch. I don't know. I think you can have pretty good food with meatless Mondays.
Yeah, I try to do like really not successful, but I try to have like 3 meals a week that are not meat. Just for like health reasons and not having like meat constantly. But my parents are so bad, like every single night they have meat. And I'm like, what if I just make something? Can you try it? No, we don't really
No
interest whatsoever. Like so old school.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I'm someone like Jack, but
like,
Ty was
no.
digging the chili. He liked it.
He's a modern man.
He's a modern man. Yeah. And Amy says, all I do is screw up. I'm not like my mom. Maybe it's good my mom's not here. That was very sad.
Yeah, that was really sad. I was feeling kind of like frustrated with Amy, but yeah, by the end of the episode where she sort of explains a little bit of why she feels like she's let everyone down, I feel like we're kind of come back on her side.
Yeah, and then we get a Ty and Amy kiss.
Yeah, and also that felt like a really real moment. I'm kind of glad they didn't dress it and make a big thing of it.
Yeah,
because that's a real thing that could happen. And
well, it kind of shows how little chemistry that we're getting with some of these other couples, with Peter and Lou, and with Chase and Soraya, and I don't know, just a bunch of those couples. It's just not, you're just not feeling that chemistry. And with honestly, Caleb and Ashley, like they're okay, but I think that Ty and Amy have way better chemistry than any of them. So then we have Amy going out on Spartan, and Spartan isn't liking it. He keeps wanting to go back, but she keeps pushing him. And I thought it was funny when I think it was Ty who says to Chase, "Do you ever eat at home with your wife?" Or if it was Jack, I can't remember. Do you ever
Yeah,
eat
it
at
was
home?
Jack. Yeah,
Jack. Do you ever eat at home with your wife?
it's a long story.
Yeah. But yeah, what did you think about this whole thing with Amy getting thrown by Spartan and then having this kind of vision of this cowgirl?
Yeah, it always kind of throws me when they have the whole like vision/dream situation on this show. It's like this weird element they kind of throw in every now and again, and it makes sense that it's normally always Jack, and it's always kind of involving his Lindy, his wife. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a bit strange for them to kind of do it with Amy this time.
Yeah.
It
Well,
always kind of takes me out of the episode a little bit.
well, Ty ends up finding her and obviously is very upset. And she talks about how she saw this little girl and Jack recognizes it and shows her the picture of Marion, his daughter, her mother, as a little girl. And then she says that I've lived long enough to know we don't go through this life alone. It's comforting to know Marion is still a part of her children's life. So that was very sweet.
Yeah, it's interesting that Jack's kind of the believer. He's kind of the old-fashioned guy, but as this kind of stuff's concerned, he was like fully on board. He like believes that Amy never saw the photo before, and this was a thing that she experienced.
Yeah. And the so then Sriracha throws Chase out, very frustrated, and we also get the scene with Lou making coffee for Jack, and he's like, "That's the line. That's too far. You're messing with my coffee."
And everything in bulk now.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who doesn't drink coffee at all, I wouldn't know there would be such a difference. I would think that would be one thing it wouldn't like coffee beans or coffee beans, but evidently not. I don't know.
I'm a bit of a not a coffee snob, but like I have my machine, and
Oh,
anything
yeah?
other than my machine, I'm like, yeah, no, thank you.
No, thank you. So Amy decides she's going to take charge of the situation, and she goes and she tells Rihanna that they can go ride anytime. And so she puts her on Addison to ride. And the first Stuart sees that and he's mad, but then he sees his girl is happy. And so they decide to make up, and Stuart says, maybe I was the problem. And I think we're all like, yep, so much. And then it ends with Ty and Amy on the couch getting pretty cozy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if they get back together before the end of the season.
Yeah. And Ashley will end them saying the bride not coming back with the husband is a problem. So
yeah, she's apparently staying longer than in Europe.
So yeah, so this one I would probably give it like an 8. That was pretty good, I thought. What do you think?
Yeah, probably a 7.5 I would go with.
So there we go. Let us know what you thought of these 3 episodes. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. It would be a lot of fun. And Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave a thumbs up. If you're listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. And if you're listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. And we also have our Patreon group and merch store where we have Heartland inspired merch. So make sure to check that out. We would really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.